Welcome to a video from thedigital.com. Once again, I've got another retro video for you, and this time I'm going back to 2013 and Windows 8.1. Actually, this is the 2014 version of Windows 8.1, which included the update. But the reason why I'm doing this, I've been going back and looking at old operating systems from Microsoft. I've looked at Vista, see if it was really as bad as the reputation it had. I looked at Windows 7, see if it was really as good as its reputation, and the same for Windows 8, whether it was really as bad as people thought at the time. And now we've progressed to Windows 8.1. I've actually got on my virtual machines, I've got two. I've got Windows 8 and Windows 8.1, so I can show you some of the differences and to see whether 8.1 really did correct some of the issues from Windows 8. If you ever used Windows 8, you remember that it got rid of the start menu as it was. We lost the start button, things were very touch friendly, big icons, not really multitasking windows. It worked great on touchscreen devices, but on the desktop it was frustrating to use with that user interface. So I covered that in my previous video. So in this video, I'm looking at what Microsoft did with Windows 8.1 to correct some of those issues. So when you first boot up, the very first thing I noticed is I was here in desktop mode. So with Windows 8.1, it detected if you've got a keyboard and mouse attached, and if you have, then it dumped you into the desktop instead of the tablet mode, which makes a big difference actually, because you'll notice the Windows button is back as well. So this is looking more familiar to Windows 10 users, and if you're a Windows 7 user, this would look more familiar as well. One of the big issues you had with Windows 8.1 is you were in that mode, and if you could get to the desktop through here, and then there's no start button. So to get back to it, you had to move your mouse right down to this corner, which felt really odd. And this looks a lot more familiar and a lot easier to use. So that was the first thing that Microsoft did. It brought back the start button, and if you're on a desktop machine, you were left on the desktop, which did really relegate some of the modern apps, these modern apps, to sort of the background really, because people just would go back to desktop, they would pin their apps on here, have desktop shortcuts, and back to how we used to use Windows. But anyway, let's have a look at the start menu. The start menu had quite a few changes to it, and if I flick back on this, so here in Windows 8, we had the tiles, and that was really all we had. To get to anything useful, you had to go through up into these charms menu, which meant going into this corner and then scrolling down. And you can see here, I still struggle to get that to work every time. Whereas the charms menu is still there in Windows 8.1, maybe a little easier to launch. But you notice we've got a few extra buttons up here, a couple extra. The power button, which in Windows 8 you have to go into settings, and the search. We'll come back and look at the search. Also, we've got the all apps list as well, which is on here, which is welcome because that wasn't available on here as well. So there was no concept of all apps. So that's good to see. So we've got all apps. The other thing is the tiles as well could be resized, made to various sizes. You could choose whatever size you want. In Windows 8, you just had the option of when you right clicked, you got this menu down at the bottom, make it smaller, and uninstall, so and unpin from the start as well. So you had the all apps list there, you had to go through that way to it. So you can see straight away the concept of this start menu. It was very touch friendly in Windows 8. In 8.1 it made much more sense when you were a mouse user, and let's face it, that's what most people were using. They weren't using touchscreens. I was using a Surface Pro, I think Pro 3 maybe, or maybe Surface Pro, yeah, Surface Pro I think 3, I think, when 8.1 came out. So that all these were good quick changes that made just using the desktop, well, using this new start menu a little bit better. Of course, most people went straight to there and they pinned their applications down here on the taskbar, or just had desktop shortcuts. Now search has been moved around as well. It was a bit easier to search and you could just start typing in, a bit like in in Windows 10 now, where you've got that, but it was much more prominent. It's much more prominent in Windows 10, but in Windows 8.1 it was here. In Windows 8 it was hidden under the charms. So that was quite useful as well. And you had the user profile option here, but that was the same as Windows 8. Now for Windows and windowing applications, side-by-side applications, in Windows 8 you had, if you had a wide enough monitor, you had the option to have full screen or a bar down one side and another sort of 2 applications on there. Here we are with Windows 8.1, and you've got a little bit more flexibility over the windowing. You could just kind of choose where you want these windows to go, and yeah, a little bit more options on there. So they were kind of giving you some control back to the user to drag data around. So yeah, to make these windows go around. So I think that's a good thing, because that was one other thing that was a bit infuriating with Windows 8. So we've still got this concept of modern apps from the store, and like this is Internet Explorer 11 replaces Internet Explorer 10 in Windows 8. They had the sort of the touch-friendly menu bars on here, and then if we went back to the desktop site, there was still the old version, or the desktop version of IE 11. 2 separate browsers, same rendering engine, but 2 sort of separate systems. So you still have this concept of these are desktop apps, and these are modern apps. And we kind of mix them by going back to desktop like that, but you're not going to be able to have this one there, in a window and have multiple applications. So the windowing effects were better in here than Windows 8.1, but than in Windows 8, but still nowhere near anything like Windows 10, where all apps was kind of treated the same, and you could minimize them and maximize them and move them around as you wanted to do. One of the things Microsoft did with this as well is they moved some settings, or I see it's asking me which window I want to place that now, so let's place that there. Oh, I've got a third one there. So there's a lot more of the settings, full screen, have been moved across into settings, as in Windows 8.1. First I've got to go up here to get the settings. See, I still don't like that swipe down for the charms. So you've still got, there's some extra settings up in here. So Microsoft continues still doing that with Windows 10, moving settings from the old control panel into here, and that's something that was started with Windows 8 and just continued through 8.1. So with this version of Windows 8.1, this is the one that's got the 2014 update on there. OneDrive is now SkyDrive. SkyDrive is now OneDrive, and we've not got files on demand, so you've still only got the option of making available offline or online at file or folder level. So you've not got files on demand like you do with Windows 10. And a bit like we had with older versions of OneDrive as well, where they were synced locally, or you could sort of have them cloud stored and brought back down. So yeah, we've still not got the files on demand at this stage. Also introduced in this with Windows 8.1, look at a few new apps like Calculator, which we can handily find now through our all apps list. So we had like Calculator and things like that. So this was introduced in Windows 8.1. So we had quite a few new apps. Let's have a look. So here's in Windows 8, all the apps on a clean install, and if I go back to 8.1, you'll see we've got quite a few extra apps in there. These are the old Win32 apps, but Calculator and health and fitness, that kind of thing that were new, and the People app, I think the People app was there before, and you've got like the Alarms app on there, which actually thought was in the previous build, but it's not. It's there. So we had a few new apps introduced as well. We did lose some features though. The Photos app lost its interconnectivity with Flickr and Facebook. Also, same thing happened on Windows Phone as well. So at one stage, the Photos app was a great way of pulling everything together. You'd have one Photos app, we connect to all your different photo services. That kind of went away, and when they were sort of split up. Also, the calendar and mail didn't. The calendar lost its Google Sync features as well. That kind of came back through the introduction of some new Google services that you could bring back into the mail app. There's quite a few on the HUD changes as well, including Miracast. Miracast is a way of projecting the screen to another PC, something I use in Windows 10. And you can select to display unit, display things like an Xbox or a bit like a casting, Google Casting kind of thing. So Miracast first introduced in 8.1 as well. And there are a lot of security and other improvements. So overall, was it improvement over Windows 8? Definitely. For desktop users, big improvement. For users with a convertible like a Surface Pro or something like that, where you have the mouse and touch, then yeah, this is definitely easier. For desktop users, 100% better. And a lot of improvements in things like settings and to bring the old control panel into here. Work that's continued to a lot with Windows 10, and you can see really where Windows 10 gets a lot of its and you can see how Microsoft built on Windows 8.1 to bring out Windows 10, which is something we can look at in a future video. But yeah, definitely, if you had Windows 8, you definitely wanted the 8.1 update, unless you're really hardened tablet user or touchscreen user, then you wanted Windows 8.1. In terms of performance, I don't think there was a huge amount in it. I think the memory requirements were slightly lower for 8.1, but not a huge amount of difference, and certainly in reliability, these two VMs working fine. Not any issues, which I did have on the, I would say, with Vista. So, yeah, a big step forward. So a step forward from Microsoft with Windows 8.1, and like I said, what they used to build on to bring us Windows 10. So thanks for watching this video. You can check out my others. I've got a video on how you can run old operating systems on Hyper-V, things like Windows 8, Windows 7, Vista, NT, back to NT351. I've got that on my YouTube channel. Thanks for watching this video, and I'll see you on the next one.